I love sparring. I think it's one of the best ways to measure your progress in martial arts. Yet, a lot depends on who you are sparring with. If you spar with someone much less experienced, you may feel like you're the best. Spar with someone who is on your level and you will feel challenged. Go with someone who's much better than you and you'll feel like you know nothing at all. Instead of showing you my kickboxing sparring against someone I have more experience with, I decided to show you sparring with all three levels: beginner, experienced, and champion. Curious to see how different the results will be? Let's see. The first sparring footage is with a beginner. My partner trained for some time and knows the basics. Yet, there is still a clear difference between our levels of experience. In this sparring, I do my best to honor that by going slow and easy. One of the things I like to do, which you can see me doing here, is changing levels and striking the core. The fact that my sparring partner isn't protecting his body much also encourages me to do it. I believe I got the idea of adding more strike to the body by watching UFC fighter Max Holloway, who likes to change his striking levels quite a bit. I also like to wait for my opponent to strike, moving my head out of the way and countering with a straight punch. I believe my long arms are suitable for countering, and I'm hoping to develop countering skills more as I continue to train. Oh, and here's something else I like to do about to come up: blocking a kick with my shin and following with a teep kick of my own, or pretending to do a roundhouse kick only to follow with a teep. I found that to work quite well in most cases. The third thing that I'm working on during this session is blocking. I learned that there is a difference between how most MMA fighters block strikes compared to kickboxers. Probably due to the difference in the size of gloves and the fact that grappling is involved, MMA fighters tend to have their hands extended forward. Since I started with MMA, that's what I used to do as well. During kickboxing, I learned the importance of shelling up and blocking from there. It was a completely new skill for me, and it took me a long time to get used to it. During this sparring, I'm doing my best to block most of my opponent's strikes. The fact that his punching is slow is also ideal for me to work on it. The last thing I notice myself doing here is kicking my partner in the legs when I see him heavily planted on his feet. That helps me make sure that he won't block my kicks using his legs. My next sparring partner has been training kickboxing for about 3 years. I find that our experience levels are similar. I do have a height and reach advantage, which gives me an edge, but we have the best sparring sessions since we constantly challenge each other. I am much more careful doing this sparring since I know he can get me if I get too close. I throw more kicks to use my height advantage and to keep him in the distance. Meanwhile, he has some nice spinning kicks, which he often gets me with. I do a lot of in and outs, looking for openings while trying to not get hit myself. Here, he tried to apply more pressure, so I used the jab to encourage him to back up. I tried to circle a lot so he wouldn't get me by the ropes, where he would get into a distance in which he feels more comfortable than I do. Again, I try to go high and low. I use the trick kick again. Here, he got me by the ropes, where I shelled up to block the punches and went into a clinch to create distance again. Later, after the sparring, my partner told me that his plan was to burn me out during the session since we both know that his cardio is better than mine. His plan eventually started working since I did get tired. My volume started to decrease and it became harder for me to keep him in the distance. Here, he cornered me quite well, and it took me quite some effort to get out. And here comes the sparring with the champion. My kickboxing coach, Sergey Masloboyev, became the KOK and VAKO Pro World K1 champion multiple times. Needless to say, my experience level is nowhere near his. I'm tense right off the bat. Just knowing how good Sergey is making the sparring really tough mentally. He noticed my tension, and here he's saying to me, "Don't worry, I won't strike hard." I know he was saying the truth, but the tension is still hard to shake. Now here's a funny moment. I start trying to attack him, but I expect his strikes so bad that I flinch as soon as he moves. Then, I try to throw some punches, but I'm always expecting a counterattack and stay on my toes in a wide stance ready to jump back. One of the things that makes sparring with Sergey so tough is that he's always keeping the pressure on, even when he's sparring light. Unlike me, he's never flinching and he always stays at a distance where he is dangerous. Even his light strikes are precise and you can feel his whole body behind them. Here, I caught a heavier strike, probably because I was so tense. My coach gave me a chance to walk it off. Later, Sergey told me that his intention during the sparring was to simply give me a chance to throw some strikes at him. But since I wasn't very active, he threw more strikes than he initially intended. Watching from the side, you can see that he's just playing with me, but when you're in the ring with him, it just feels different. Both the physical pressure that he applies, plus the mental stress of knowing who he is, makes sparring with him really tough. As you can see, sparring with someone is not the end-all be-all of measuring your progress. It also highly depends on who you are sparring with. It's important to remember though that everyone started as a beginner, even the champions. And it's not as important how you performed against someone as the fact that you keep on sparring and improving. If you're interested to see my sparring using Aikido against Karate, click on this video right here. Thank you for watching, and as always, I wish you to own your journey.